And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to AU League. Yet another game here, number 4, second to last, Vitality versus Virtus Pro. Big game for both of them, as the word of the week has been consistency and trying to find it. Fluke and Ace join me on the desk, and the big story for this one, Vitality, can they keep it up and show us what they're made of? Can Virtus Pro finally wake up from hibernation? Who knows, right?
Vitality looking good, Milosh.
We can't hear you, by the way, Ace. You're muted everywhere.
Honestly.
I'm sure what you said was the most intelligent...
Can hear me?
Yeah, it was so intelligent what you said. I think that's it.
Awesome. It was just over your heads. I just basically said that Vitality coming in, they've been effectively getting stronger and stronger. They've beaten G2. They've had a reasonable start. It's been a little bit hit and miss at times, but I said coming into the last Playday that these were the biggest unknown in the league that we had, and they answered that question with an overtime win against G2. That doesn't cement them as a top half finisher, but it certainly puts them on that trajectory, and so today is a really important game for them against Virtus Pro. We can see how their sort of tide has turned, really. Match 1 and 2 losses, match 3 and 4 wins. Small margin, but if they can follow that up with Virtus Pro as well, then you start really thinking that these are one of the top half teams.
I mean, they've been fighting some very close games and against 2 top opponents early on in the season, so who knows, maybe Vitality were just hiding under those small differences. We'll have to check it out today. Virtus Pro is up next, and when will the Russian bear wake up from hibernation?
Oh, it's tough, and you kind of hope soon. Virtus Pro, they've been so close to success, and that's the kind of, I guess, the worst bit about it, is there's so many frequent moments where they just haven't been able to close it out. You've looked at them twice on Consulate versus G2 and versus Na'Vi in the previous Playday, where it really could have been and potentially should have been their game, but if they can't quite lock it out the end, well, it's led to the position that they're in. This is actually the worst run of games that they've had since Pro League Season 11, when they were under their old organization. But that was when they had 3 losses in a row in the middle of the season. The team that they beat to get them out of that slump was Vitality 7-0. So this is, in a way, a little bit of a replication of history of their previous worst performance, and I guess today is the day where they don't try and beat the worst record that they've otherwise set.
Man, M always on point with the references and with the history. Always fantastic to see. So there it is, a lot on the line today for both of these squads, and you want to push yourself out of the slump if you're VP. Let's see who's up for head-to-head. You guys picked one player out of each one of these 2 teams. Who are these 2? It's Bibu and Pasha, and looks by the ratings and all that they're fairly close in what they do, but when is it beyond the numbers, Ace?
2 very similar players that I think sort of bore comparison on the basis that they do a lot of what their team needs. They will come in and play flexibly and work around where the cracks are and get involved. Bibu applying a lot of experience last Playday. It was the best week that we've seen from him yet, and hopefully he's going to carry that forward. We need to start seeing some of that consistency that we keep speaking about within Vitality particularly. They need 2 or 3 players to step up now and have that good performance each time.
Yeah, there's not much else to really add there. Obviously, it's 2 big players, 2 big names, and 2 people that are still trying to find their way into that leading spot that the other teams in this league have done so far. So is today the day that really starts?
Well, I'm curious which map we're going to be playing on between these 2, because, man, I don't even know if there's... I might sound a bit too pessimistic about Virtus Pro, because I just want to see them perform at their best. And remember last year when we were talking about, VP at EOC, they smashed through everybody. What are they going to do after that? And then, it took a while. They performed later on in 2020, but it wasn't up to snuff. Okay, well, we can talk about the map now, I suppose. Our lobby is set. And Cafe Dostoyevsky, Virtus.pro will take out Coastline, and yet another Cafe will be played today. VP on attack, Vitality on the fence. Does this make sense?
I mean, it's a bit of a gamble, a bit of a play. Obviously, Cafe was the one map that they've been able to pull points from this season against Empire in the opening showdown. So for them, it's slightly positive. It wasn't a full fat win, but still semi-skimmed. And then on the other side, we haven't seen it from Vitality yet this split. And Coastline was actually the last map where Vitality beat Virtus.pro in stage 1 of the previous split. So it's okay for Virtus.pro, I think is the fairest way of putting it.
Aside from Kitchen, Virtus.pro struggled a little bit on the defence here on Cafe. So I think if Vitality can come in and players like P4, Cactus, Bibu can all team up on the attack to get in there and find those early kills, get a man advantage, I think there could be some joy for them on Cafe.
All right, I'm kind of curious to see how it all goes. Looks like our lobby is ready, and we are ready to launch. Fluke, Ace, thanks so much for being here for our pregame discussion of Vitality versus Virtus.pro. We take a bit of a trip to Moscow, Russia, to Cafe Dostoyevsky, where Jess and Dez await on the sidelines to take us through this game. All yours.
Thank you very much, Milos. We've been sat having a little bit of afternoon tea in preparation for this game. Needed it, let's be honest, after the intensity of that last game. Jess doing her best impression of a British person there enjoying their tea. As you'd expect from someone that's half British, which I genuinely learned is true earlier on, Jess.
Yeah, I wasn't lying. I have Scottish heritage myself. That's my background. So for the most part, and a little bit of French as well. So there you go. That's my background, even though I sound like an absolute deep diving Australian. I don't know if I can say the word. It's in the dictionary. Actually, if it's in the dictionary, I can say it. I'm a big bogan. For all the Australians out there, you'll know what I mean. You've heard the accent. That's why I sound this way. But nevertheless, let's focus on the teams rather than my heritage. No one cares, Des. Let's be honest. What I care about is, can VP collect 3 points, tying them with Team Vitality on the standings, or does Team Vitality just run away with the points at this point?
Yeah, I think points aside for a second, looking at the history of these two teams on this map, the Des spoke a little bit about Virtus.pro and their history on it. For Vitality, we've barely seen them touch this map in recent history. The last time they played it was, I believe, not in October, sorry, it was in December against Trainhard for the 6th Invitational Qualifier. Prior to that, it was back in October where they played against Penta in the finals of the Season 2 French League. They lost 8-7 to Penta on this map. It was ridiculously close. Didn't really take any attacking rounds, but did have 5 defenses on their side. So it has been a good while, and of course, we now know Vitality to be this changed team. You may as well just kind of park all previous history for them on this map because there have been so many changes that are coming in. This is basically fresh ground for Virtus.pro to face off against Vitality on this map.
Too many new additions to the side of Team Vitality to give you guys any statistical analysis. I've got nothing for you, especially on this map. We can only look back to their previous play days where, well, actually, overall, they've been doing not too bad, and I praised them last week for having a very, very dominant foundation to their matchup and, you know, beating G2, beating Empire in recent play days. I've been really, really impressed. So for me, particularly, I want to see them show up here now with this lineup and say that, yes, we are here to play. We are going to move ourselves up from where will it move them? If they get the full 3 points, it'll move them up to 9 points. That'll be up where Kavana is now. G2 hasn't played yet, so that's still a bit of contention. That'll put them in contention for 5th, 4th spot. So that's still right up there with few play days to go. If you're a Vitality fan, if you're a French fan as well, then that's something that's quite promising.
What do you make of the Ash ban coming out here as well? A bit of a target ban over to the other side, probably looking towards P4 there after what he undid the other day on the Ash. I think it's a really smart ban. People look at that and go, oh, it's typical rank ban, lol. Not at all. If you didn't watch the game the other day, P4 was the kind of player that when his team identified a gap at the slither or a small crack in the enemy's defense, he'd crouch walk right in there, try and kill 2 or 3 people and win the round for his team outright. So I like that they've kind of gone for a focus here and saying, well, let's shut him down when we get into the second half. But of course, for now, Virtus.pro are a team that start on the attack, and interestingly, it's not Milan playing the Zofia, it's actually Pasha that's taking up those responsibilities today.
Well, why not? We did highlight him in the pre-desk there. So as a result, then on this map particularly, you need a Zofia. You need to have those impacts in play. Piano can be a really hard spot to take, especially when you've got a double shield set up to go up against. There's one in Pixel spot, there's one in Bathroom. So yeah, I agree. You're going to need as many of those impact operators with that hard breach, rather not even hard breach, those explosives as possible. And with these ADSs littered around and on my ban, it's not going to take too much to cook them and get rid of them. My big problem here will be these Surya gates. What do you commit to that? Are you going to use Rask and all of his flashes? At the moment, it's going to be the flashes coming out. And yes, that'll be Rask's job for now.
Had a lot of Lion as well here, almost saying, well, let's try and suppress these Romans as best we can if there is any trying to cause some chaos around the map. But given we are on the 3rd floor, you're not really expected to find too many, but it will help come execute time. And whenever I think of Rask, I always think of this aggressive roaming player. And here on the attack, maybe a little bit of a different story, but he can pull off nutty shots like that one. Rise hits the deck, and that should be most of Pixel cleared out.
Well, now they don't need to nade Pixel. They can use all of their utility to focus on Banshees. I mean, what else have we got on that side? Vulcan shields might become a problem in the later rounds, so you might as well get rid of them. And when I said a double shield setup, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I meant a triple. One inside of that pantry area over towards Freezer. There was one in Bathroom, and then it still is there, and there was one in Pixel. So for me, that triple shield setup is so oppressive. The fact that, Vitality are down Rise already, and they've been able to take Piano pretty much for free. That's really good for VP, but this can go downhill very quickly if Vitality play the same cool, calm, collected that they played last Playday.
All they've got to do is sit and wait. I always love seeing the storage wall left soft. The contest it can bring back into Piano can be wonderful, but you're right. Everything they've got set up here, Virtus Pro, is looking good for them, but Vitality just holding on a little bit, playing the clock. As I always like to say, that clock becomes the 6th man for the defenders as you get towards the dying 10, 15, 20 seconds or so, and a wonderful C4 from P4 from below. Forget about being on the Ash. Turns out he can get pretty sneaky when he's on the defense as well here on the Melusi. That at least removes the Zofia. A lot of the work had already been used or done by her utility in this case, so not the end of the world. But already you can see Virtus Pro starting to think about this execute, looking to force the player in Cocktail to be a little more uncomfortable, and then thinking about a play behind the smokes.
Well, the EE1D will pop, and it means Shiga can't get out of the way of the grenade. A quick peek, and Cactus lets him know that is a suppressed TCSG, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't do enough damage onto the side of that particular ace. And, well, Virtus Pro, they just needed to get everyone to peek into their crosshairs there. And I think that TCSG, and I don't want to blame it on the Freezer player there, but a suppressed TCSG inside of Freezer, if you think that is going to net you kills, then you're going to be sorely mistaken, buddy. I mean, there's a Vector that you could play with Go. I still think that's a stronger weaponry, but overall, VP, they had too much time on their hand to work with. Vitality, maybe not aggressive enough, Des.
It's pretty spicy. I mean, for Virtus Pro, a team that over the last couple of weeks, what we've been really excited about with them and have spoken about an awful lot is how aggressive they can be. And you look back at their game against G2, against Na'Vi, they were outplaying both of those teams when it came to the more strategical department. And even against Na'Vi, were outfragging them too. They just had those few miracle rounds come out of Blur. But it's not all to say because the results have gone the way they have that you aren't going to see Virtus Pro do well. We know they've got it in them to do well. They have got 3 of the best gunners in the competition on their team right now. Maybe still adapting a little bit to Karjeka recently joining. I know that he hasn't started out so well. They have got the potential. Right. It's just about breaking the curse of coming up against teams that have got players who have some of the best games in their lives.
Yeah, and a lot of people will be saying, what, Karjeka brought onto VP? We said he was going to be a really good fit and he looked more confident. Well, actually, unfortunately, he's on the lowest rating on the team at the moment, 0.79. Has a horrific survival rating. So for me, I hate to draw on the negativities of a player, and I'm a big Karjeka fan myself, especially back in the heydays of Team Empire. For me, I just need him to find his groove so that he can really have the impact that we know he can have. That's where I think he's lacking, and especially changing teams, synergy, etc. But P4, a sneaky little spawn peek here, and he looks away just too early. And speaking of the man, this would have been the victim here had he not been careful.
Karjeka, the man who loves his monitor a little bit too much, as his face cam will reveal to you. Pixel sniffing, I think we call that at points for him and how close he likes to play. But if he gives results, which admittedly for him it hasn't been too forthcoming with lately, you can't complain on that point too much. Let's see what else Vitality can do. They have thrived off this disruptive play style like a few teams have been doing lately. And I think here, with P4 at Windows, are looking to do the same again, but no one being caught out. Virtus Pro taking things in quite a composed fashion, and knowing that there's a line on the other side, more likely than not, given we saw it back in round 1, it's probably going to make Vitality think we don't want to get ourselves pinched. We want to get back to site a little bit quicker than we normally would.
I like players that do that South Rappel and just see if there's anything they could take out on that particular white hallway, because a lot of the time, and
where did that get shot from? Was it just a spray through from Cocktail?
Was it a teammate?
Maybe.
Oh,
hopefully not.
good night.
No, yes, no. He's away. No,
Okay,
he's
look,
safe, Jess.
we are all sitting there confused for a long time. It doesn't really matter. That C4 gets wasted out. No one will be collected, even though a player was just there before. And this is a lot of people rappelling over towards Cocktail. Is this the push they want to do? I mean, that's a nice grenade on Rise, who unfortunately hasn't been able to have the impact that I'm sure he has wanted. Manages to sneak on away, and they're going to have to waste yet another grenade to be able to collect him. It's all right. Pasha's there. He'll steal the kill. And for me, as a result of them having top 4 control with more than 60 seconds left to go, this puts Vitality strongly on the back foot. Not a single one of those C4s have hit thus far. P4's the only one with it left. And if you ask me, unless they instill some kind of nasty flank now, Des, there's no possibility.
It's a really good and rapid clear of the top floor, and rather than slowly creeping across from the west, they did have the one player looking to work their way through Piano. Everyone else said, right, on the windows, on the East boys, get on the roof, start threatening white. We'll do all we can from there. And even here, the verticals being opened up seemingly everywhere is giving Vitality something to think about. First, EE1D comes out with the scan. Nana now left as well, at least the first one in the part of this execute. Now with the floor being opened up, you're going to start feeling that pressure on Vitality. Their movement's going to be restricted. And this is where the attackers start thinking about a plan, but they don't drone out where Shinka is. Finds a 2K. P4 finds the third. And from a 5 versus 3, Virtus Pro might have just completely given this round away. Bibu finds another. And now Milan's like, guys, where are you? What happened? You're all dead, apparently. Starting to contest his way down onto white. Can't even win that one. How on earth the VP just lost a 5 versus 3 with not a single kill going back the other way?
That is the biggest round throw I have seen since, like...
Jess, whoa. Let's think about how many rounds they've thrown in the last few weeks. And what did we say in the pre-show when we were talking off air? We were saying Virtus Pro are the worst team at throwing. You remember what joke I made? The XV1s? They're the worst at throwing those. And now they're throwing away XV3s, XV2s. Basically, if Virtus Pro get an advantage, don't get too excited is all I can say.
You put it perfectly, because honestly, me sitting there, I was just shaking my head. The entire team attempted to run into a Banshee with a player in the corner underneath a vertical they had just made in Cocktail. I mean, I hate to call Virtus Pro bad, but that was just bad. That was just honestly bad. That was horrific. I hope I never have to see that again.
I wondered where the old school, truthfully harsh Jess had been all this time, and here she is. Finally speaking her mind and showing true colours.
Virtus Pro have unlocked and unleashed the monster, within me, because I hate to be negative Nancy, but that was just horrific. Don't do that again. That, for a team that I have loved for quite a long time, Virtus Pro, that's just, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to be a fan. So that cannot happen again. We can only hope it doesn't, because one round apiece, things aren't looking awful here for VP, but that does not bode well for them. And, yikes. I can't believe I have to watch the replay as well. I'm shutting my eyes like a child at watching a horror film.
As you can tell, Jess traumatized by the events of round 2. Hopefully round 3 will be the cure if we can see them pull this one back together and continue the dominance we saw back in round number 1, because round 1 did start well. We've seen the kind of two sides of the coin here for Virtus Pro, this team that has got very capable gunners that can play behind sound strategy. Again, I would wager that on maps like Consulate, they have been the superior strategic team in pretty much all cases, but then a player on the other team just turns on and things shut down. Here it's not an individual player. Maybe you'd wager that Shinka was the player in that last round, joined up by P4 a few seconds later to get 3 kills in quick succession. Either way, 1 for 1. Let's see how things go. At least they have the IQ on side here to deal with both the Valkyrie and the Yokai drones coming out. We've already seen a Russian team get traumatized today by the Yokai drones, so I'm glad there's an IQ on side.
Unfortunately for WTG, he's actually getting baited over and over as that yokai drone is just jumping up and down to feed intel. First, the E1D will pop out and no one will be the victim of it. Maybe a wasted one, maybe an opportunity for them to start droning people out without them running away. Pasha, he'll get hit by it. And you said that's going to be the dominance here of the yokai. Well, that one's for intel, but unfortunately, Milan, he's too wise for it as that trade will come out. Wise finally manages to get a kill and it will be on to Milan. But this is a lot of pressure to put on Pasha, who now has the control he's looking for, but P4, he's been able to scuttle away as a result.
Almost manages to snag the one as he moves towards the rotate out of that bar area. Now, Pasha playing the coach up might get pushed by P4 tight on the right, but he has to back away instead towards red stairs. Stays alive for now. Small few shots being exchanged, but no one really going down anytime soon. It's seen still sat in the 4 versus 4. This is where Virtus.pro now needs to decide. We've got the initial landing zone that we wanted. Where are we going to push? And down red apparently turns to be the play.
See so many yellow pings coming out. This makes me think that either that yokai is still feeding information, maybe a Valkyrie cam placed somewhere. I'm not sure what is giving away the yellow pings, but P4 knows everything, and you've got to be very, very careful because P4 is in a power position now. WTG, he's the IQ, so you'd think he'd be spotting out some of those, you know, intel gadgets that are giving away positions left, right, and center. With about 40 seconds left, I think they have one EE1. In fact, they've popped the last one. Take it back. Nothing to make this execute go around on, but guess what? The echo goes down, and that is a beautiful pick here from Rask, who's been one of the really big hitters here for VP.
They haven't really threatened onto P4 at all as well. He just serves as this awkward kind of cut on red stairs to separate the team in half. And here we go. They haven't cleared him out. They left him to his own devices, and now he strikes big. He's being pushed by Pasha. I thought that was his kill for a second, but absolutely not to be the case. P4 into the 1 versus 1 upstairs, loses out to Pasha. Shinka finds one more on the downstairs. He finds 2. It's a 1 versus 1. There's 5 seconds left. Russian teams and being slow seems to be the curse. 2 seconds left. Can't find the man. He's on the right. He misses him though. Didn't see him for a brief second. Vitality win round 3 by the timer. And again, Shinka plays spoiler as Vitality look to go for the play. Other way around, Virtus.pro go for the play. Too many Vs.
You know what, I was saying that before. I was like, oh my God, there's way too many teams, that especially when they go head to head and they both start with V. I'm like, ugh, what a shame, but no. That round was a good one based off the fact that I think teams that can identify that teams that either don't take above or are playing slow, that can be manipulated. That vertical above over towards small, I think that's one that should be played by defenders 9 times out of 10 if the attacking team don't take verticals. They have the sledge to work with now. They should have had that sledge to work with last round when they were attacking, just to give them some kind of verticality, because it's clear VP on other sites like vertical. I'm not sure why they didn't try and take it that round. One-dimensional, you get punished as a result. And even with the IQ, which they're bringing back this round now, Des, there was far too much intel in the hands of the defenders. Vitality playing this well. I'm interested to see if they're just going to do the same thing they did last time. Is it a triple shield setup? They don't have the Vulcan shields to work with here, so I think something might change ever so slightly.
Oh. It's just one of these games that I look at every single round and just think, how has that gone that way? Because Shinka has kind of stepped up as the big clutch. It was the same in round number. He kind of started off a whole team clutch in round number 2. Otherwise, you'd probably wager that Virtus.pro, had they got just 1 or 2 things a little differently, would be in the lead right now. And again, to hark back to that point, it was exactly the same as what we said about the previous games they played against, like G2, for example, when Citizen would go off and win a 1 versus 3, or Kayak would clutch the 1 versus 4 with an Echo, for God's sake. There's so many cases like that where it feels like Virtus.pro should be winning rounds, but just aren't. And you don't want to pull it down to and say, oh, they're just unlucky, because luck isn't really a thing. You kind of make your own luck. You put yourself in those situations, but it is small things by which they're losing these rounds.
Well, this is an opportunity here for Team Vitality to extend their lead. They're 1 round ahead, and they are on their defense, so a lot of people might cut VP a little bit of slack. I have to bring up some of those statistics and to see whether or not Cafe, for this stage so far for EUL, has been leaning more attacking or defending sided. But before I do that, let's see whether or not Piano Control can stay firmly in the hands of Vitality. They've got multiple bodies there. And as P4 has that piano wall open up in front of him, it will be Rise instead of the DMR this time. I think he's got the Roni, so surely he can't miss heads with that one.
You'd assume not, but you never know how it can play out. Either way, it's Rise, the one taking the aggressive duties. I think you saw for a second P4 also hanging in towards Piano and Stage. And rightly so, there's the Lion scan. They have the information, they call it in. You can't move, you're seen on a drone. Guess what? Chances are you're dead just a couple of seconds later. P4 going for the fight onto Pixel. Bit of a spray coming back his way. No one hitting the deck. In fact, it's Bibu. 3 members of Vitality holding hyper aggressive here. And we spoke about their aggression on defense. What about on attack, sorry. What about the same thing here on defense, Jess?
Yeah, I mean, I did pull up those stats here. We're talking about defensive sidedness. It's a pretty 50-50 map. It's only 52% defensive sided. So for me, I think VP should be probably pulling more rounds out of this half. We'll see how it goes. I do think Vitality are playing it well. You lose P4 and Piano, but he wasted a heck of a lot of time. So did Rise. He goes down, but that was 2 minutes that it took for Virtus Pro to now take Piano. Oh, Bibu, you didn't have to overextend, my friend. It was the other 2 players that had that lead, had that time man advantage, and you've thrown it out the door. So now it's going to be up to Cactus and Shinka to make the play, but it's a triple for Pasha. He hasn't been having a good stage so far, but he's redeeming himself now in this particular matchup. And out of all the weapons here, Des, that could do it, I'm pretty sure it's the Elder.
Oh, it always can be the Elder, but that goddamn white window player is giving them absolute hell. It's going to be a flawless round coming out for Virtus Pro. And I thought for a second, oh, well, it is Cactus. We've seen what he can do already with the Elder. But I think in that spot when Bibu died as the 3rd man, that was the round done. He was pinched because, like you touched on in the last round, Virtus Pro love having a player on that south rappel watching into white corridor. He can't push into Piano because there's someone on the minibar window. There's someone behind him watching the window that would let him rotate safely away through bathroom. He was stuck between a rock and a hard place. He had to take the fight and unfortunately lost it out, and things just slipped away from there. This is where over-aggression can get punished sometimes, but a lot of that to me was on Virtus Pro, trapping off the rotates, not allowing the members of Vitality to retreat, and said, look, you've made your bed here in Piano. You're going to have to stay here and fight to the death. And sadly for them, it was truly to the death.
Well, some of that passive aggressiveness we were seeing for Vitality earlier on kind of slipped away. It was almost as if a few of those Vitality players, especially over towards Piano, wanted to overstay their welcome, and overstay they did. They got punished for it completely. As a result, now they'll go back to the same site, and let's look at the operator composition here. I mean, for the most part, it's going to be exactly the same. My question will be, how long, now that it looks like Bibu swapped over to the Surya Gates themselves over Rooney. I forgot her name. You know, I forget Oryx's name a lot as well, actually. I don't know why. Some of the new operators just doesn't stick in the head, but he will go onto the Aruni. Cactus will stay on the Maestro, and it looks like Rise will take the Jaeger, and P4 will take those Banshees of Malusi. I think it's going to be the same setup. That's why I'm stalling out here. Is it going to be the same? Are they going to do the same hold? No shields. Bathroom fully reinforced off. Yeah.
People on stage. Yeah. Definitely the same.
Not sure. I mean, if you hit your shots, it works. And that's the worst strategy to analyze as a color caster, is that you hate to put it down to the minutia of, oh, if he hits his shot, guess what? That's a great strategy. And if he doesn't, well, then obviously it doesn't work. So, too simplistic.
Sometimes it can be that simplistic, and I know it breaks your analytical heart, Jess, to just say, oh, it's just about the gunfights. But I think you're right. If they killed Pasha off window, for example, in the previous round, or brought down Milan, or whatever else it might have been, maybe killed Rask, who was playing on the white corridor window, then suddenly it's a very different round, and Virtus Pro are the ones who have got to adapt. So we'll see if this round plays out the same way, because then the onus really does go onto Team Vitality to be the ones who bring a new idea and don't just keep on playing this aggressive roam game.
Oh, P4 could jump out here. Yeah, I did think about it, but you could hear that LMG of WTG absolutely firing at it. Rask and WTG will go rotate over for that rappel. Rask loves that window. We spoke about it before. And what WTG needs to do is make sure that no one peeks him from garage. That is a deep run out there, Bibu. And guess what? Any other weapon other than the Roni, you would have had it. And uh-oh, here we go. It's P4. I said if he hits his shots, he'll be able to hold Piano all by his lonesome. But the rotate from WTG means he can't hold every single run out. He'll eventually get the trade, but so much damage has been done here from that one Piano play from P4, who's, hit his stride here in the first half of this play.
it's just like we said, Jess, you hit your shots and suddenly the round can be transformed. And here it has, because the attackers of Virtus Pro now don't have any pressure or presence inside a piano. They're going to have to adapt. They're going to have to change it. For WTG, that is pushing his way up red. The wall has been open, so he does have a bit of visibility up onto the stage, and Rise is ready to challenge him. Another has dropped through the red hatch in this case, so there's 2 to challenge if he wants to, but they're trying to pressure him out. Look at the clock, though. 50 seconds remaining. We're still fighting over the point of ingress on this map. C4 comes out, finds one. Rise does finally collect the head of WTG. And look at that, Jess. Very little change compared to last round, but a completely different result because a couple of shots were hit early in the round.
Yeah, and that's what really makes it hard to break down for the viewers, is you'd love to say that that strategy, shouldn't work, and all right, it shouldn't. I mean, Milon's, he's going to try and, leave with some exit frags here, but there's no possibility in a 1v4, 20 seconds left, he makes it work. My biggest takeaway from that was I liked that Vitality when they lost that round, and they lost it quite decisively over towards Piano, lost 3 of their players, probably unnecessarily. They said, well, actually, Jess, this strat does work. We've used it in scrims. We have confidence in what we have here. And then when P4 had gotten both, that double kill over towards there, Bryce replaced him. So they're obviously putting a lot of emphasis in the fact that they want to bring the fight to VP at the windows. And after Rise replaced him, he managed to get kills of his own. So for me, they're confident in their strat. They're confident it works. Why change it when you are that confident? Support staff behind them would have been, putting their emphasis on that piano control. I mean, prove me wrong, but yeah, a lot of reliance on mechanical skill there, if you ask me.
Real back and forth, which I think is what we expected coming into this game. Like, Virtus Pro sure have had, a really rough run of results, but keep on saying it, the players themselves haven't been having bad games. The scores that were in their last series against Navi, for example, you have Milan and Rask dropping double digits way into it as well, about 15 kills each. It definitely wasn't a game where no one showed up. They just got, again, dare I say, a little bit unlucky in how some of the rounds played out for them, and Blur managing to clutch a few of them showed again they don't do super well in those XV1 situations. For Vitality, a team that has shown the aggression, that is really starting to deliver results, you kind of get these clash of these 2 teams coming together that's hard to call. But I think a game that wasn't going to be a one-way affair was absolutely on the cards from the off.
Well, this is the last round of the first half. The last round that Vitality can show us that, well, their defenses, they are, enough to put VP on the back foot, especially if they win this round. It'll put them 4-2. That gives them a couple of rounds buffer on their attacking half. And I did bring it up before, and I can't do it on this map specifically, but when you look at Vitality as a team statistically, and you say, well, are they an attacking sided team or are they a defending sided team? Attacking, they win about 40% of their attacks, but they win about 60% of their defenses. So overall, they're a defensive-sided team, so you want those buffer rounds just in case you don't do as well in your second half.
We're generally seeing that trend carry across for a lot of teams, to be fair, where there is about a 20% gap between attacking and defensive win rate, with a general lean in towards that defensive side of things. The odd team might step outside of that rule, but that is the norm that we are seeing in this season. So defender-leaning game, apparently still somewhat for now, but who knows how that may change as the season progresses.
Well, speed is the name of the game here for Pasha. He wants in quickly. He has top 4 and a C4 gets ripped as he hears it. He wants to bait it out, and well, you got what you wished for there, Pasha. You ate 3/4 of your HP just baiting that one out. Milon does manage to catch Rise, as I believe it was his C4 that came raining up. So you know what? It wasn't a bad bait after all. They'll end up catching him on his rotate back. And now that this round is kicked off in very swift fashion, it does mean that Vitality, the numbers disadvantage is on their side, but they've still only taken top floor. My biggest thing here will be they need to start opening up, over towards Freezer, over towards the mining side of things, and Milon does start doing that. I think you have a bit of a indication as to how well a team's doing by how quickly they start opening this up. Do you think VP are just a smidge late?
A little bit. You know my metric on this one, just to speak about it all the time in APAC or did for most of last year. About a 1.5 minute mark, you want to be getting hammered to the ground in that case. You want to start ripping up those floorboards. You want to start getting the angles downstairs. So with about 45 seconds to go, you can start thinking about your actual execute. And somehow P4 is up and behind them all here. What's he going to do?
How did he do that?
He got red stairs?
Yes, and they let him.
I mean, he's now dropped himself back down, so he's now starting to think about, okay, well, they're thinking about pushing because they're killing my teammates. I need to aggress, but Must have been Milan spotting him first there. A 3k for him in the round. He could have done untold damage if he hadn't been caught out by Milan. So now the unluckiness is on the side of Vitality. 5 versus 2. I always say don't get excited, Jess, but is it time to believe?
Oh, I'm going to believe if you ask me. And unfortunately, it's Cactus in the corner attempting to pepper bullets over towards Prep. The EE1D will rain out. And with 10 seconds left, Cactus could play absolute spoiler here. There's still a C4 in the hands of Bibu. If they go to plant Grill, he could throw it out. Come on, you need to start getting this plant down. It'll be Kajeka to get it out. And it will all go down to kills. A couple of headshots to finish it off there for VP. Wasn't super convincing. But hey, I'm a little bit of a believer now.
I mean, they didn't throw away the XV2, so I'm definitely not complaining about that this time around. It does leave us all pretty balanced, though. Looking at things, though, 3 and 3 coming out the half. Not a bad defense or attack for either side, I'd say. Things being as equal as they are suggests that maybe we step towards overtime unless we see some magic come out from one of the two sides in this half. And I do lean towards Virtus Pro on this one. I think with P4 taken off the Ash, playing on the IQ in this round, at least as their initial pick, what you're probably going to see coming out the other side of Virtus Pro is what we're used to. You're going to see players like Milan, like Pasha, like Rask getting out on the roam, causing chaos, especially Rask. He's the one I'm keeping my eye on, especially in this half.
Well, I'm going to do exactly what I did for the statistical analysis of Team Vitality, and I'm going to move it over to VP. Are they a defensive or attacking sided statistically? Well, for all the VP fans out there, you'll be happy to know they predominantly win their defensive sides. So there is a little bit of an shock horror, huh? But there's a little bit of an indication that, okay, maybe the first half, with them ending even 3-3 apiece, I think that bodes really well for them if they can keep up what statistics are showing us. It bodes pretty well for them. Things can change. As you know, Vitality, we've started seeing really good foundational attacks. My problem will be, does P4 lean on that whole crouch walk in and do damage, or does he just play the flex frag operator that he is now? Because that is going to be really important for those yokai drones.
That's what worries me a little bit, Jess, is in the game the other day when we saw him getting picked off on the entry in a couple of cases, the team just kind of stalled out and didn't really have any flair to them for the rest of the round. There was no player that was going to step up and go, it's okay, you may be down, but I'm going to step up and make sure we still have something going into this round. He was very much the tip of the spear, and it was like you just locked off the nice, sharp, pointy end of the spear and been left with a bit of a blunt stick that they were trying to poke the enemy team with, but just couldn't quite find anything to come out of it in terms of result. So I don't know if that's going to be the same case here. Him being on the IQ probably suggests he's not going to be the main entry here. Maybe Bibu's going to be. We'll see.
Speaking about main entries, it was P4 by Kajeka. We said that this weapon does absolute damage in a 1vx clutch situation, but hey, it can also be used as the first weapon that you come across if you're holding Bakery. Enough ammunition to work with if you have multiple people pushing you from multiple sides. No, guess what? It was the mute jammer on the wall that meant they couldn't open it up on Kajeka, and it has allowed him to rain absolute massive damage here. He'll finally go down to the grenade, but guess what? They won't know. Points aren't on here for the pros. They'll have that professional HUD up for them, and he'll probably lay there for a while until they do manage to spot him out DBNO.
Now they know because the tags come through, so can finish him off if they wanted to with the grenade from Shinka. Not quite convinced he's rotating into that spot. Hell, even an impact could do the job at this point. But I think they're happy to let him lie there, knowing that this is a glorified 2 versus 3, knowing there are still 90 seconds to play in this round. That's a great peek around from Shinka onto Milan. He is removed. But I'm keeping a very close eye on WTG on this Echo. I'm glad we switch over to him at that exact moment. We've seen what Echo can do today, especially on this site.
The long lines of sight opened up from VP here could play huge dividends. I don't think Vitality knows all the angles opened up. And as I say that, Bibu, he works to his own advantage to be able to get shots through. There's a whole minute left to play with here, ladies and gentlemen. And somehow, some way, VP have turned this around into a 2v2. They've still got yokai drones to work with as well. And if I look over to WTG, I don't know if he has both. But it's all up to him now. The diffuser's laying over in small, and unless someone collects that and goes for the plant, it's just going to be kills here. He puts himself in a very exposed situation here, and as that Gemini spots him out, and drones as well, he's going to have to use his gun skill here, I think. Dares, and he misses on out. Bibu's far too accurate. And that Bakery long line of sight that the defenders were hoping to use against the attackers, I said it was probably in their advantage. I take it back.
I honestly thought with the way that round started out when Karjeka found a 2K, I was like, yeah, surely this just kind of goes against them here. Like, Vitality are down, there's people are dead, the guy we kept on celebrating as being this big gunner, but no, they managed to still bring it back over to completion, which maybe is, again, a worrying sign for VP that you can be up in numbers as they were and still somehow manage to give the round away. Let's step into round number 8. We go back up to the 3rd floor. And we've seen this aggressive hold coming out from Vitality when they were on the defensive side. I'm keen to see if we see something similar coming out of the likes of Pasha, out of Karjeka, if they commit to going for this aggressive hold inside a piano, or if they've got a more defensive plan in mind.
Well, I'm just looking at the composition here, and I did want to compare it to how Virtus.pro usually plays on this particular map. I mean, for the most part, they love to bring the Echo, and we saw that downstairs, and they love to bring the Valkyrie. Sometimes they love to bring the Mozzie as well. Most of the time, you always see that that Melusi come into play with a Jaeger alongside. So I think composition-wise, there's not a lot of difference here. The Mute does come out oftentimes, but this time they're going to bring the smoke. It's got the same weaponry, you know, primary and secondary. And I would feel for Karjeka right now because the work that he put into Bakery as this replay comes up on our screen was huge. And the fact that you can't convert that much time and pressure that Karjeka applied towards Vitality into a round win, it does scream a little bit of worry into future rounds, but that's okay. 4-3, you know, it's not a huge loss here for VP so far, and they're putting really good rounds on the board when they do manage to get them into a win. So for the most part, it's a close game. I'm just not sure.
This is what makes me sad for VP, is every game we've said this, right? There hasn't been a game where they have been completely stomped and rolled over and everyone's going, oh my God, they're an awful team. They've always lost, but they've always played pretty well. And this is looking to be another game where they play well, but the opponent is just edging and getting ahead. If this gets to like 7-5 or even goes OT and they lose there, I can't even begin to imagine how dejected they must feel.
So close yet so far is something that's surely running through their head Playday after Playday. And after the last Playday with Na'Vi, who just managed to beat BDS in OT, they're going to be kicking themselves. They could have beat the best team in EU last week. They weren't able to capitalize on it and win rounds out where they needed to. P4, don't be the opening death again, buddy. Don't show us that that Ash ban really has crippled you when it shouldn't. This operator does the same thing. In fact, the LMG has far more bullets to work with. You've got the same speed. You've even got the angled grip. There should be more working for you here.
Real cheeky camera looking up onto the roof there and feeding information back as to who's up there, who's looking to aggress what angle, for example. What are they setting up for? Lots of information being fed back and forth. So I think for Virtus.pro, they have eyes on what's going on. This is the camera I was on about. Beautiful toss out through the skylight to get over here. That's one that's definitely been prepped a little bit in customs, and now I'm pretty sure they hate medics. They're giving all eyes as to what's going on. The worst part is they've got the IQ, although realistically, as an IQ, why would you be looking laterally when you're on the roof? Your eyes are always looking down. Oh,
there we go.
Just got the pink. There we go.
Yes. Finally spotted it on out. I believe Cactus turned around and dispatched of that one. And, well, I mean, he's telling him where it is, so he should... Maybe they think it's down below in pillars. Out of the perspective of P4, he pinged it below. They must think it's below, and as a result, they won't turn around and get it. Karjeka, as Raj drops, is able to get that shot off. And I think they wanted to do a drop plant. Yes, they do, but guess what? Too much to the wise. That's a freebie for Pasha and a Repellion on Heaven. Won't net anything but a trade here for Bibu, but... domination from underneath the skylight? Okay, this is an open area for Bibu to be, but he could pick up Shinka and make something happen.
I was going to say he needs to get Shinka back up. He's in a 1 versus 3, but goes to show how much damage can be done with intel. They knew there was a drop coming in through the skylight. They were ready. They lined up the 2K. It's as simple as that. And I think you're right. The ping coming in, they were like, oh, it's inside. It just needs killing, whatever. There was no check on the roof, and they'll watch this game back and go, guys, if you're watching it, first off, hello. Second, let's keep an eye on cameras on the roof in future. My God. Very cute, very smart.
Look, I do want to say very clearly there is that skylight drop with the smokes blocking off those lines of sight, that would have worked. Whoever the Valkyrie player was pulled out the deal and started opening up massive lines of sight as they were standing up on cocktail bar number 3. They just started pummeling the soft wall with holes. That gave them an elevated, line of sight over towards the skylight drop. And with that smoke popping, it didn't cover those lines of sight. So really, it was just a little bit of pre-thought from one singular Valkyrie cam. That's how much damage a little bit of intel can do. Really brilliant. I love it. What I also love here is that VP have thought, they're using smokes here to deny our lines of sight. What can I bring to negate that? Oh yeah, the person that can look through the smokes. It's going to be, what is his name? I've forgotten it. It's on the tip of my tongue. Warden. Thank you very much to Medics, who's in our ears right now, spectating your game alongside us.
Jess, do you even play Rainbow Six Siege?
You would think I have 5 hours rather than 5,000 with how I just forget some of the operators' names on the fly sometimes. Jeez. I mean, it is 6 a.m. I'm a little tired.
I mean, we haven't seen a Warden all that much. I say that. We actually saw him picked up earlier today in one of the rounds. And I remember for a time it was when certain teams, VP being one of them, would really enjoy running something like a Ying, so much so that it used to get banned away against them. They'd try and do something with it. But he had no need. They've already got themselves inside, and P4, well, he's ready. First man in the building, of course, has gone for a pretty aggressive push into Coat and caught one off guard in the opening 20 seconds. That's going to be the only prize that Vitality collects, at least early in the round. I say it, they get a second as WTG also falls down. That's the echo that you have lost this early. We're only 30 seconds in. A swing comes out with the shotgun onto P4, and he's down in the dirt. And Pasha has regained some ground, only to peek and lose it a second later. Now Milan, here comes a new challenger. Steps into coach check, ready to be the next contender onto front door. It's turning into a gladiators arena here, Jess. And I think for a couple of seconds, we're going to have a bit of peace.
Replace. It's almost a never-ending army, that gladiator. That was a brilliant bit of play-by-play, because honestly, that's exactly what it was. It just seemed like everyone was stepping up to the plate. I mean, if Rise can kill you, maybe I can go head-to-head with him as well. Doesn't really matter, because the damage that initial push in very fast, that rush into double doors, was absolutely brutal by P4. He might be negative in kills, but the impact kills he had just there were humongous. For Milan now, this verticality is going to work really well for him, because they've already made their way in onto site. Bibu's hit nothing but headshots, it's felt like, for the past 2 rounds, and Chica holding on to red. It was almost like the attackers became the defenders there halfway through that round. That's a swift one, but a dominant one nonetheless.
It is, and Vitality playing off the style of confusion we saw them employ just the other day in Clubhouse, where they play this kind of hyper-aggressive early style, get themselves control of ground that teams wouldn't expect, and you kind of then thrive in the chaos. And Virtus Pro, I think, quite fairly said, no, we need to hold that ground. We need to commit more bodies. But for the side of Vitality, they picked up the kills they needed and now find themselves at 5 and 4. It is starting to sniff a little bit like overtime, though, Jess. I think that's the way this is going to head.
Oh, you say that, and then we talk about how VP can't, oftentimes finish out rounds that they need to. I mean, I'm looking back, Na'Vi last week, 7-8, unable to capitalize on the win there. 7-2 against Rogue. Okay, that was a bit of a bad one, but that was Rogue's sort of comeback. So I'm going to scratch that off the board for now. Then you go back, 7-4 against G2. Close, but no cigar. Go back to the first week, and the only opportunity for them to get those proper points was against Empire, and that was in overtime. It's almost like Virtus Pro, in order to get themselves a win, get themselves on the standings board beyond these 3 points now that they've collected, and those are just all off of overtimes. They need to have a dominant win. They're not going to get it here against Vitality, because Vitality already have those 5 rounds. But if they want to bring them to overtime, they need an overtime win, one that's going to net them 2 points, and that would put them squarely in 7th place, which is still not great.
I'm just waiting for the point where we see a clip appear on Twitter of Karjeka just seeing the team go to overtime again, and he just sticks his head through his monitor and just goes, guys, I can't do this anymore. Nuts it, smashes it to pieces, and goes, that's it. Throw it away, boys. I'm done with this. We've had so many overtime games this season so far, so many points that we could have won if we closed out a couple of difficult rounds, and we can think of a couple in this game so far. It's dicey, and again, unlucky. I don't want to use the word luck, because luck doesn't always come into it, but to a level, they are unlucky with how things have progressed. Either way, let's see what the play is here for Vitality. I thought they were squaring up for a bit of an aggressive drop at first there with pings coming in. Looks like not to be the play. Both those hatches opened up inside 40 seconds or so, and now start thinking about how they get inside the building safely without being too heavily contested. It is the reading to events, so what you're very used to seeing here is the reinforcements coming into Freezer, coming in towards the double walls that look out across the bar area, and slowly forcing out the 2 or 3 defenders that hold onto the top floor.
Well, half of top 4 control is slowly in the hands of Vitality. There's not a lot of contention here from VP, and nor do they really need to. Where they need to control is over towards Cocktail and White. That's where a lot of the players are going to be right now. Some sneaky Valkyrie cams that unfortunately Medics is giving away for all of the EUL teams to have a good look at. And that means that everyone will know their positions. He said unlucky in our ear. I know he's absolutely lying. He loves to give away every team's Valkyrie spot. So if you want to learn some of your own, there you go. This is something I haven't seen in a long time. Not a raiding plant impending here for Vitality. It looks like it's going to be a fireplace plant. And is there any of that wall opened up? Yes, there is. So this is going to be the only little bit of saving grace here for Virtus Pro, is that they've got half of that white wall to fireplace opened up. Otherwise, to deny a plant would be very tricky.
I have to start calling Medics the cruel cam Croatian connoisseur. That's a lot of C's all in one sentence, but that's the way it comes out. I know I was going to trip over it at some point. I even got the word order wrong as to how I had it in my head. That's how it went down. They have finally dealt with one of those cams, at least with the IQ being put to good use. Need to point it more towards roof side next time, maybe, guys. We'll see how it pans out. But what I like here, Jess, is we're at 50 seconds left and all 10 players are still on the field. We haven't had a round like this all game, I don't think. They've removed the mute jammer. Now going to look to get the wall opened up. 40 seconds left. This is going to be an absolute bloodbath.
I believe verticals have been opened up above as well, and because they didn't take a lot of the verticality above, this fireplace plant is going to have to be in. They've opened up pinch holes onto Pasha, but he still has that bookcase to hide behind. So if they do go in for a plant, those feed holes will be where Pasha is able to shoot on in. Bibu puts him out of commission. Oh no, I spoke his name into a death, and surely they get the plant down now. Is there a denial in place, or is P4 going to pay the difference maker?
Gotta go for it at this point as well. 10 seconds left. I always hate these final 10-second moments, but they're trying to go for the plan. Cactus sticking it out at 2 versus 3, justified for a couple of seconds, making it 1 versus 3, but they can't put him down as the plan does connect. 2 versus 3 for Vitality. They find 1 kill onto Karjeka. WTG goes down. Rask is down as well. VP cannot stop losing man advantage rounds time and time again. Rask has got to pull off something wondrous here, or it's going to be 6-4 for Vitality. Looking towards White. Knows the diffuser is down inside of Fireplace, and he has got one hell of a rescue effort to pull off here. Looking out towards Fireplace, gets sprayed out by Rise. Vitality goes 6-4. Jess, the curse cannot leave VP's team right now.
It's just a horror movie, and it's like Groundhog Day, but being reformed into a horror movie here for Virtus Pro. They cannot escape this. Ladies, if you have not watched VP's games throughout this stage, other than the very, very first Playday against their Russian comrades of Team Empire, who have been weakened throughout this particular stage, it has been a horrific ride, a roller coaster you can't get off that keeps going through the loop-de-loops. That's VP's journey in stage 1, and Vitality are going to walk away very likely with 3 full points unless VP, which they haven't been able to do, puts 2 consecutive rounds on the board against Vitality, who just seem to be walking away with it.
You know what makes it really sad when you look at it by the numbers? Virtus Pro have 2 more kills across their entire team than all of Vitality do, yet they're still down 2 rounds.
It shows you that KD doesn't mean everything.
It doesn't mean everything, but it also shows that they are highly competitive, yet still losing rounds. That's what it's coming down to, time and time again. That's making this so difficult to watch. You always have to shield your eyes and just think, please let it stop. It's so painful. Man, I spoke about it earlier on. If they come away with a loss again here today, I can only imagine how much it's going to break the spirits of VP, who, again, a highly capable team. They're showing it here in this game. Some excellent camp placements, even to help them out, still aren't enough. It may have helped them in 1 round, but Vitality are in a spot here where they're about to take the lion's share of points in their own resurrection. Their revitalization here in EUL would be well underway.
That'll put them in strong contention against G2, a very popular team here in EUL. And Kavana as well, who's had a surprising uprising throughout the standings, especially today with those points. So for me, I think that if VP doesn't put a very convincing round win, let's say they win this round, but it's not very convincing, I say they don't put consecutive rounds on the board, and Vitality, they don't seem dissuaded at all. They might be on match point, but they look cool, calm, collected. They're doing exactly the same movements and droning that they did last time they pushed this top floor. So it's clear they have a strategy, they have a plan, and they're employing it the same way they have again. There's no changes here for Vitality. It's business as usual.
Please tell me that cam's not back outside again. I can see Pasha's about to throw his third one. I imagine it would have gone outside the skylight a little earlier this time. And I guess we'll find out when someone gets on it. Nope, mostly indoors, so fingers crossed it's not outside again. It could be absolute chaos if so. They're in a spot, though, again, where they are in a spot where they know that the drop is probably going to come in again. There'll be some aggression. They've got the 3 smokes on side. They've got 2 C4s to play behind. They've got the denial if they need it. And here can see the drop coming in because of that position of the camera on the pillar. I think even if P4 calls it out, it's quite well placed. It's really hard to kill that cam unless you get across having someone on the noob out window, which someone probably doesn't want to play in that spot just yet. More late in the round, you're thinking about that.
Was that cam outside or in pillars? Oh, he's starting to realize it's starting to make sense. Okay, finally, we can spot them out. I can ping them for the players. That means that there's a Banshee under the Skylight drop. There's 2 Valkyrie cams under the Skylight drop. There's a barbed wire under the Skylight drop. Are they convinced that Vitality is going to do the same smoke and drop strategy? Surely Vitality aren't going to be that predictable again. I think they're trying to adapt to something that was a one-time pocket strat, and that's going to hurt them.
And again, I think for the attackers, they know where these cams are, but not so easy to deal with. Pasha being pressured out from the cocktail window here. The Sledger is playing close, but Rise finds the kill. Shinka goes down at the same time, mind you. Not super ideal, but 2 kills come flying in. Vitality are even going for a plant. They pulled it off once again. 2 members hit the deck, but that plant is going on. It stops for no one, Cactus says. 2 versus 3. Yet again, Jess, Virtus Pro have the numbers advantage. They should be able to do something here to try and fight this one back, but the problem is in a post-plant, you've got players outside the map just holding the windows. They need to hold. There has got to be a miracle here to hold this one back. Rask finds one. It's a technical 1 versus 3 with Shinka still down. He's feeding a bit of information back and forth. The defuse coming in. I don't know if they can see it from here. The run out comes through. The spray comes in. They do finish it off. Virtus Pro aren't going to throw this one away. It might not be hyper convincing because they let the play come through, but at least it takes us to 6 and 5, and overtime may yet be upon us.
I said if I didn't think they won this round convincingly, they wouldn't be able to put 2 rounds in a row consecutively. That one was okay with me, though. WTG went below. He double-checked that no one was laying on the diffuser. He had those shotgun shells. Someone went over towards that reading door and ran out. I mean, that was the right retake play. That was a convincing retake, and they had the man advantage to do so with it. So for me, yes, okay, they dealt with that well. I actually am glad they let them plant, because the retake is far more viable when you slow down, you work out the situation, work out where they are, and then employ a retake strategy with coordination. That was good from VP. That was. Even though the plant went down, I still think that was really well played. Now all they need to do is take that momentum downstairs, and if we look statistically here over towards Virtus Pro and how they do on this particular site, it looks like it's not their worst. Well, I mean, it is their worst side. I can't
It's not their
lie.
worst. Actually, it is the worst.
I mean, it is their worst percentile-wise. So, yeah, break the general mold here, VP. This is your worst site. Change the statistics for me. Here you go.
It's what we're already gone. And again, the amount of info being brought along is the Yokais once again. Now, we've seen them used a little aggressively from WTG. The second time around he brought this along, he was killed off quite early in the round, didn't have a chance to make use of those drones from that point forwards. We spoke already about how earlier on today we've seen them used by like Kendrew, for example, to incredible effect. Now, admittedly, that is with Na'Vi playing for this kind of, we're going to let you guys plant. If you want the site, you can have it. We're going to deny, we're going to retake from there. That is going to be the game plan. Cabana, sorry, yeah. I'm always thinking about the old team.
I know, it's like, I know what you're doing.
Easy mistake to make sometimes, what can I say? It's so ingrained in my memory that he was part of Na'Vi for the longest time. It is still weird to think about him being now on their UK rivals team of Cabana. It's really interesting to think about the transition, the storyline that makes. It looks like for Vitality, at least they're trying to push their way, but they've seen this one before. Karjeka is put in the dirt super quick. It should be finished off by this grenade as well. All too easy, and all that inside 45 seconds. It's almost like Karjeka was the static piece of utility, and they knew exactly what had to be done to get him out of position.
Well, they certainly weren't going to make that mistake again, were they? Last time, Karjeka mowed down multiple players as they come running in towards that small bake and then over towards double doors. He absolutely made a meal of them. This time, they've gone, concussion, grenades, and we're also going to pop out that that particular ADS, and he goes down in very swift fashion. If I was Kajek, I would have rotated out. I didn't realize he had to rotate behind him. But now it gives them this false sense of security, because now that that hole has already been opened up for them, they need to be careful of Milon above on that vertical. That drone didn't look up, so I don't think they know. And if someone sort of peeks their head here, it's a bit of a free kill here for Milon.
Could be. Is it gonna be in this case? And after that opening kill, you thought you might carry on to see that pressure and that pace continuing, but it's absolutely not gonna. A great drone here from Shinka, by the way, seeing everything going on inside the bar. They can see the echo again. P4 collecting Rask. It looks like they want to shut this down here and not let this progress into overtime. VP are the one facing off against the numbers. Pasha finding one, put down to about 15 HP. Finds a second. The SMG control is unreal. Milon collects another with a pistol, and suddenly they've turned it all the way back around. How have they done this? It's Fatality's time to throw the numbers advantage and send this into overtime by the looks of it. Shinka being pressured out, down to about 30 HP. He wins the one, but can he win everything? With 45 seconds left, it's a lot of work to do, Jess.
He has almost no HP to deal with here, but he does have the particular scope. If he wants to take long-range engagements, he get rid of one of those intel gadgets that would have certainly spotted away his position. And, you know, with Milon running out aggressive before, it meant that they dwindled numbers, but they won't do that this round. And guess what? They will throw themselves into overtime. But Des, we've seen this before. We've seen what happens when VP gets into overtime. Can they break the curse and put themselves into a win? I say that they've done it. They did it against Empire. But I mean, look where Empire's ended up recently on the standings. That's not a convincing overtime win to me. But if you beat Vitality, yeah, I'm starting to, you know, get convinced and a bit more confident.
I'm still waiting to see when he does stick his head through his monitor, because surely it's coming at this point. It's another overtime game for Virtus Pro. Like, I think back to Chaos and the number of draws they had and how bad that must have felt. Like, here is the torture that you get of that kind of do or die best of three. And sure, you still get to walk away with at least 1 point. It's still something for your trouble, but it's not ideal, because every single time you walk away that 1 or that 2 points, it's a miss of 3 points that could be elevating you at the table at this stage. It's going to be painful either way you look at it.
It's painful for the standings as well, because if VP win overtime, this is assuming that they win and they take the full 2 points, they only overtake Trainhard. Vitality is still well above them and has a buffer of 3 whole points. And if they walk away with the 1 point, they'll tie themselves with G2, who's yet to play. So standings-wise, winning only 2 points does pretty much nothing for Virtus Pro, other than possibly elevate them a little bit further away from the second last place team of Team Secret. So standings-wise, it doesn't mean much. I mean, that replay, that positioning, they couldn't have known that he hadn't rotated away when they did check it, so bit of an ouch.
No, with Zofia pushing into red like 3 seconds later, surely the call was there. Oh, okay, he's just killed 2 of us from Coat. Like, surely you know, but apparently not. 3K for Pasha, that's going to change around entirely. Bit of a misplay by Vitality, one might argue there, but we step back into round number 13 anyway. 5 on mind about. All 5 alive, of course, on both sides early on. No early grenades singing in towards Karjak's general direction. Clearly quite fed up of having said grenades singing in towards his general direction, as he's now on the Jaeger, wants to be catching those grenades rather than being the one eating them with his teeth. He's on the roam, actually hanging out inside a train. Not forgetting, again, this is the top floor hold. Not really expecting to see a Jaeger on the roam downstairs. You'd more expect to see a C4 wielding operator down there, Jess.
I mean, they have a couple of C4s to play with as well. Milon is the one that springs to mind when you think about someone who could put out the roam. There goes that particular C4 as we speak about him.
Cheeky.
And guess what? It is wasted in its entirety. Does no damage to any of the Vitality players. And it's only Rask who's going to be left below. He does get that vertical electric claw below to stop the walls in bathroom being opened up, because that's where that shotgun SMG player will be hiding out for the most part. I think given Cactus really, really wants these walls open and they're focused on keeping bathroom closed and not freezer, it makes me think they're okay with Vitality opening that up, as long as they can have that shotgun next to that solidified wall or that reinforced wall. But they've spotted out the electric claw here. That's easily dealt with from outside, and bathroom will be safe no more.
It is still 90 seconds in the round that we're looking at this point, where, hey, it's not the full length of the round. It's not the full 2-minute whack, for example, but it's at least something to start getting this wall opened up. Takes about 100 seconds to do so. Going to start putting some pressure when it comes around to the execution time. And you've still got the storage wall electrified and reinforced off entirely. Sure, you've got bathroom, but that's only one piece of the puzzle.
Oh, you still got 60 seconds to work with here. Bathrooms open on up. They replaced another one of those electric claws so that, okay, now Freezer can be closed off. Grenade, does it collect it? Yes, it does. Wow, Vitality, they see a problem and then they deal with it, Des. This is what is making them a really, really strong fundamental team. And I said this last week when they took that win, and I guess it wasn't that convincing, but nevertheless, all the foundational plays and strategies were there. Droning's been great, utility usage has been great, and knowledge has been great. Bibu, he's thriving off all the intel that his teammates are giving him.
That's another really late opening kill, mind you, though, with 35 seconds left on the clock. P4 does P4 things, just walks forward and collects kills of an outside of WTG finding Rise. That was a near flawless round and a 3K for P4. That was the kind of damage that he was doing in Monday's game, and they managed to make it work finally in round 13.
Well, Vitality, unfortunately, I don't think they can hear each other on their particular voice software, so gonna need a little bit of a moment to break and come back to our faces. And I am sitting here well out of breath. It is 6:20 a.m. I've been in the office for like, I don't know, 7 hours now. And as the cold is slowly getting to me, things are at least heating up in the server as we finally hit overtime there for VP. I thought it was gonna be a full loss. They're going to get points of some kind. My worry is that after that very convincing round, it's only going to be one.
Yeah. And again, they'll sit there and just feel so deflated after this game that this just keeps on happening as well. They get so close to being able to take all 3 points, and then the odd round or two in regular time just forces it into overtime, things that they give away. I think at this point, again, I keep on like almost making it as a joke, but the kind of numbers advantages they keep on giving away is so ridiculously painful. And I think that's even day one proceeding up to now. It's happened in nearly every single game. I'd love to see them tighten that aspect of their play up because it could help them so much more just to get those critical 1 or 2 rounds that give them the full 3 points they need. This is only stage 1. There are 3 stages to play still, but it's not all good going into stage 2 or stage 3, sat near the bottom end of the table.
I think what a lot of it comes down to is that Vitality are getting 1v1s, free 1v1s. You look over towards that white corridor where P4 walked down, he gets his initial 1v1, then he looks over to Cocktail, he gets another 1v1. Someone late, when I say late, they're attempting to get the trade, but they're 2 seconds too late. P4 aims their attention down to white stairs. And that was all based off one drone. If one drone could do so much damage to the side of VP, then you've got a problem. People aren't watching the areas they're meant to be. People are looking at angles that other teammates are looking at. Something is wrong here for VP. And I think that numbers advantage you're talking about, sometimes a couple of wary little 1v1s for VP can go the wrong way very quickly, and that's where they lose it. So I don't think they need to be sitting there overhauling all of their strategies. The foundations are there, they're strong, but people are just throwing bodies, I think, and unnecessarily so.
I mean, that's how round 12 came down in terms of the coach check, right? It was the, right, keep from, just push bodies back in there, keep on fighting, hold the ground. It does turn into that at points. But I think for both teams, you're seeing the kind of, dare I say, the best and the worst in some ways from Vitality. The really aggressive extended holds, for example, inside a piano. The next round, VP just closed down on it and adapts and deal with the issue that was presented in the prior round. And you commented on this earlier on as well about the team showing that adaptation and dealing with what they're seeing dynamically. That was Vitality in that round just then. You commended them for that. And that feels like the small edge that maybe they've got over Virtus Pro here.
I know the rounds look close, but I feel like when I watch Vitality on attack and then I watch VP on attack, I feel like I'm seeing 2 completely different teams. That adapting on the fly is something that a really good team, I think of G2 when I think of adapting on the fly. Oh, we see a problem? No problems. Let us deal with that with whatever we've got left. We're going to have to use a grenade? Okay, no problems. You rotate around there. You deal with the electric claw. I need to open this wall, so you make it work however you can. And that's what Vitality definitely has the edge on here, at least on their attacking half.
Alrighty, back into it. That was a small team speak issue, which has now been resolved. All the teams are able to talk once again. Round number 14 coming up. Big question, Jess. Do you see it ending here 8-6 to Vitality on their defense of the 3rd floor, or the Virtus Pro fight back?
Oh, we've seen some good top floor holds and we've seen some bad top floor holds from Vitality. We've seen where they've learnt lessons as to how the aggression can work in piano. It looks like they're going to repeat that. And given that Cactus is going to take that Go-Yo again, I think they're going to repeat the triple shield setup. There we go. There's 1, there's 2, and the 3rd will go over towards Pixel. They'll open up a line of sight for each and every player. Thank you very much, Medics. He will spell it out and illustrate it for me as they place it down and prep. That didn't work for them. But the part that didn't work was not the shields. The part that didn't work was the players in piano. And then Bibu unnecessarily trying to make up for it by throwing his body towards Pixel. If they fix that up, then the aggression over towards piano can work really well. Or I'd like to see them rotate out once they've wasted enough time.
They have got to remember Rask tormenting them on the white rappel this time round. And it's not as easy as saying, oh, I guess we just deal with it. What will help, admittedly, is going to be the camera that's out here in this case. There is no IQ on the side of Virtus Pro. Not that it's going to matter too much. I think they must have heard that camera coming out. That gets shot out, denies the vision onto that south side. Rask now not going to be able to do too much on that window. Or sorry, should be able to do quite a lot on that window without fear of a run out or being seen on cams.
A lot of the Vitality players running around wildly. They're very lucky they haven't been caught out by the hatches getting open. The skylight even. P4 was the one that was giving a lot of attention over towards that new hatch and skylight. He'll get pinged out, but he's not really in a position to be dealt with. And surely there's an ADS there. There's not. That's a new one.
I think it bounced, didn't it? Bounced back a little bit.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. They put all of their ADSs for the shields. So you do have to be careful in that spot. If you're not going to be playing, if you're going to be playing there without an ADS and the rest are used for the shields over towards the southwest, you got to be careful where you sit. So I'm glad he did move out.
I don't want to say so much to stalling out here, but it's getting to a point where we're halfway through the round and they haven't even really made a concerted attempt at getting rid of the shields. As I say it, they breathe it into life. The flashbangs come through, ADS is disabled, and now they should be able to start blowing things out. They can't get rid of that shield that's inside bathroom, mind you. That is still in place here and able to do some damage.
They must have hit the soft wall because it was only a sort of a crouch height line of sight opened up, and he must have missed the arch that particular impact from Zophia's lifeline opens up. So as a result, okay, hit the wall. Damn, what do we got left to work with? I look over, no grenades, no impacts, nothing. That shield stays squarely up. And guess what? So does the Pixel one. Multiple ADSs. Yes, it's a Vulcan shield, and they'll be able to pop it if someone does start aggressing through. If I was VP now, they're gonna lose this if they don't rotate and do pinch pressure. That's it. Because Vitality have half of the map still under their control.
Looks like they're trying to think about it, but P4's off on their own doing P4 things, bringing down Pasha, unfortunately. And was that up on Skylight as well?
Huh.
Ow.
Oh,
Ow
hello?
again. I mean, this time around is caught. Okay, I think good timing as well. They knew off back of a drone with the Lion scan coming through. As the drone finishes, though, Rask goes down a second later. WTG picks one up. It's a 3 versus 3, and Milan has managed to get himself inside to north of Kotzau and start thinking about going for a push in here. He even wins the gunfight to bring him down. That means the plant's going to go down back in the Maestro spot that we see so many players love playing in. 2 versus 3. There's a smoke on side. They're going to bring it out, but it's not going to connect onto the right man. Bibu finds one back. 2 versus 2. They're going for the plant once again. Karjeka's got to stick it. This is a glorified 1 versus 2. Bibu does not miss those. It's now turned into a 1 versus 2. Karjeka wins it out for a 1 versus 1. Shinka, who's played spoiler in so many rounds this game, has got to come up against Karjeka, the man joining VP recently after his departure from Rogue. Can he clutch it out and to make it 11 kills in the round and keep them in for round number 15, or does it close out here? And now they've got the ping on him. He steps away. The ping is still there. He's got to go for the kill. There's only 20 seconds left on the diffuser. He's going to try and push. Got the red ping still coming out. My man, you've got so much info. You know where he is. Goes for the spray, misses it out. He whipped it on the floor and Karjeka wins it out. Virtus Pro survive until round 15. We're going the distance, Jess.
Well, if you're wondering who the clutch man is himself, it's Karjeka down the bottom right, and you might as well kiss your monitor now, buddy, because that was a damn close one. It came down to almost no ammunition left for either player in that 1v1. And what, with a pistol in hand, he makes it work. And considering he was being live pinged that entire time, very much to his knowledge, because I believe it was a Maestro cam that was pinging him, he stayed very cool, calm, collected. He didn't overexpose himself. He didn't manage to sort of get too stressed under being spotted the entire time. Really well played from a very, very experienced player. That's why you pick him up, because you need someone who's cool-headed, you know, calm like that and can deal with those situations as he did. So well done to Karjeka. But we've seen this happen before here, Des, and it's almost like I want to get a drum roll happening. What is going to be the outcome for VP? Don't tell me the curse continues, because my heart can't handle it. Can't handle it? Can't handle it.
Can't handle it. I don't know how you're going with that one, how it sounded. I don't know at that point. But it's one of those again where you're in a spot where you're being droned. Well, not droned out. Maybe it was a drone. You were constantly being pinged. They knew where you were. The constant red pings flying through. And you still win the 1v1. That's just like, it's unbelievable to me that he managed to pull that off as well. So fair play to keep them in it for now. There's been a couple of clutch rounds from him this season. I think back to round 1 and round 3 of their game against G2 in week 1. He won 2 separate 1v2s there to keep them in the game early on. Unfortunately, as the game progressed, we all saw how that rounded out, but Kayak doing Kayak things to bring the game G2's way. Again, I feel so sorry for them. Coming down to the very last round, knowing that it rides on this, you getting 1 point or 2 points. I know at this point it feels so preemptive to say it. You don't know how impactful these points are going to be once we get through to stage 3. If they keep on struggling throughout the year and it comes down to a case of relegation or not relegation or getting into top 4 or not getting into top 4, you can look all the way back and say, man, remember that game that went all the way to round 15, had a couple of crazy throw rounds in it? That led to this. That made this situation happen. It's going to be so painful to look back on.
I think it's hard for players to think so long term as well. You know, when you're in a game like this, everything seems lost. You look at the standings, you look at the leaderboard, you go, we are so far below. We need way more points than we've got. Well, I mean, just having those few points so far. I mean, Virtus Pro has those 3 points, those collections from those overtimes. So the 2 points from the win in overtime, the 1 point from the loss in overtime, that will still mean the world for them. And they're going to walk away with whatever points, given the win or the loss here in overtime. They're going to walk away with more points no matter what. So those points alone, when you consider their comrades of Team Empire who have 1 singular point after all of those play days so far, that is quite clearly, and mind you, they got that point based off of the first play day against VP. That was the only time that Team Empire got points. So for me, I think those points matter. It's more about long-term, you are right, than short-term. It won't really mean much this stage, but in the future it might. I don't know. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to cast a curse VP. I don't want to cast a curse Vitality. I don't want to try and predict how this round is going to go. But it does mean that VP will be on defense now. And maybe that's something. Maybe that's a little something. But Vitality look good on their attack too, right? So
I think what makes me nervous is taking a quick look at the standings and how they currently shape up. Vitality are on 6 points. They're behind G2, who are on 7 points. They, of course, play in the next game, so they could still kind of pull ahead. But I remember at the end of the last play day, we said, okay, we've now got the top 2 kind of existing. We've got Na'Vi and BDS out at the top. No one can really catch them. Rogue have pulled out these 4 wins back-to-back, one, of course, in overtime to get themselves to 11 points. They're now kind of threatening that top 3. In 4th place, you've got Kavana on 9 points, and G2, who originally we said were one of the big 3 teams in the region, currently sit in 5th place. If they win and get 3 points today, the highest they can sit is 4th place. Rogue have now kind of stolen that spot in the top 3. There's 4 of them now scrapping over those top 4 spots. So before you know it, even with Kavana in the mix, there could be 3, maybe 4 teams, if Vitality win, fighting over that 4th place spot. It's going to be such a scrappy ending to how the season could play out. It really depends how the next 2 play days go.
And it's also a shame that as a result of the 6th Invitational being moved from February over towards May, there won't be a major. So when these players are fighting for these points, a lot of it really is long-term. It's not them going, well, what's my seeding for the major? Can I even qualify for the major? If I don't, whatever. It's all just SI related for May. So I think overall, and I don't think at this tier level, a lot of players are going to be turning around and going, well, if I get 2nd place, I get more money for the major that's been replaced. I mean, well, that's not really the concern here. The concern is we need to collect points on the board for future stages, for SI next year to qualify for that. There's so much more that goes into this. So for me, I think teams right now, I don't know. There's so much I want to say, and I've done it before where I've cursed a team. So I really don't want to do it. Don't want to talk about the game at hand because I'm on the edge of my seat as to what's going to happen here.
Absolutely. I mean, just so you guys are aware, Rehost is just ongoing, nearly done with it now. I think getting back into it in just a second. I think Vitality had a couple of sound issues, which have now been addressed. So the game will resume in just a second. Don't worry. I promise we're not sat here with a big red button that we can press that says start game on it. We have to wait for the players to get themselves sorted out. No, they didn't send me one actually as well. I was told to get one next stage.
Mine came last week. And I'm in Australia. I think they just don't like you. There we go.
You didn't press it in time.
I did.
Okay. All you. Maybe someone behind the scenes. Milos just sat there mashing the button as well, like, start game, start game. Meet the demands of chats. The game must continue. I don't know if people are more nervous of the outcome of the game or more nervous of how many points they might have just lost on one of these teams giving the game away.
Right. The prediction. That's what everyone cares about. They care about the drops and the prediction points. That's really only what everyone's here for, let's be honest. So,
what's the split on predictions between these teams?
I've got it on now,
49% for VP. Wow, 51% Vitality. Ooh.
We just need a moderator to come in and pick the wrong outcome again. That's all we need.
Who did I pick? Yeah, who did I pick for this game? Because you made it, so I put my money on it. Yeah, I want my money. Put my points on it. Yeah.
Put me money on it, he says.
Chuck me money on it. Absolutely, yeah. I'm invested in this game as much as I am for the outcome of my 80,000 points as I am knowing what happens to the table. It's double investment, Jess. You can't go wrong.
Sheesh. Well, we'll see whether or not the money comes raining into your hands, or the prediction points rather come raining into your hands. And now that we see a little bit of a change up here for VP Rask, he'll take the Warden. I remember the name, even though it's 6:30 a.m. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, I got it. I'm back on my game. And Kajeka will be the one that decides to take on the Jaeger. WTG on the Smoke and Pasha onto the Valkyrie. Are these the changes that VP needs? Or will Rise and will Vitality, I'm just looking over to Rise now, will Vitality commit the same push they did last time onto top floor with expert play, I guess? It worked well. That's all I can say. It looked good. It worked well.
I mean, you can't really argue against either of those points and say there's no reason not to repeat it. It's always on the side that lost to be the ones that have to innovate, change something up here, bring some fresh ideas to the table. That's what we're looking for. Kaid on side once again probably means you'll have to start heading downstairs to deal with those electro claws, assuming they're placed in the same place once again. Maybe they've been moved, not 100% sure at this time. And I always think to sit here watching the clock tick away in a final round like this. Imagine, like, when you get to the end of a round, if you need 2 or 3 more seconds, those 2 or 3 seconds that someone's waiting for, it's like, man, you could have really done with those at the end of the round. They pushed their way in, but I think there's going to be a rehost coming in, it sounds like.
You know, because as I was reading out the VP operators there, I was like, hang on, if that's a technical pause, they have to pick the same operators they picked during the pick phase before the technical pause was called. And if you change the operators, you must redo the round or you forfeit the round. So yes, that's exactly what had to happen.
And you don't want to forfeit the round.
It's the last
Not round 15.
Ooh, okay, that's a shame because we have been waiting long enough. They are just drawing this out. It's like someone who goes, I'm trying to think of what it is, but someone who goes, oh, do you guys want to see? Do you want to see? And then they just keep saying, do you want to see? And like trying to hype everyone up. Well, you've gone too far here, VP. Just pick the right damn operators.
All of chat and my 80,000 points, boys, just play the damn round. Let us know.
Did you put 80,000 on it?
Yes, on Vitality.
That is unbelievable. Really?
I didn't look. We were only allowed to start like gambling our points like 5 days ago. I just kind of built them up over time and just thought, you know what, all or nothing. You know what I loved? We saw on the Reddit that someone actually wrote a post about the kind of how you should approach using your points, how much you should commit to a game, how much you shouldn't commit. It was quite interesting actually. I was like, oh, interesting point gambling theory here. I guess it was one of those strange like conversations, and I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go and put 100% of points on a game because why not?
You're all in or bust, I think, Des, and I would
How many
not like
points
to play
have you got,
poker
Jess?
with you. I have 100,000.
You should definitely be gambling those on the next game.
Oh, shut
all of them.
up. Yeah, I'll put 100,000 on G2. Let's see how that goes, huh? I'll put
G2 just popped up in
80,000.
chat. They said G2 waiting room. I was like, yeah, at this point, this is taking a while to get through, guys. We appreciate there's a lot, of course, rehosts and pauses and technical issues going on right now. But thankfully, we do, of course, have that pause button. We can get through it. Just give us a bit of time and we'll get all the way through.
I need to say something. I need to say something. Don't. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen, because I may have to say something out loud that I really did not want to say. If my admin in my messages is correct, and the admins, they work very hard on this game. They are very strict with the rules and how it is applied to each and every team. It must be applied fairly. What I will say, ladies and gentlemen, is that unfortunately something has happened behind the scenes. And as a result of that last round, VP will be disqualified for this match. I am not joking around. I know I pull a lot of sarcastic quotes. And unfortunately, VP has been disqualified. They will lose this matchup against Team Vitality. They will possibly walk away with a point. We need to confirm whether or not it is an entire loss or whether they will still walk away with that point of overtime. And I hate production so much because they've literally trolled. If this is a troll production, you've made me say this. Talk in my ear right now. Production, if they've trolled me live on stream, production literally trolled me. That is unbelievable. You know what? I don't think they want me to work. I'm out of here. That is so rude. You know what? I can't. No.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Production destroyed.
Production's like, please don't leave, but Jess is gone. Jess is gone. The best part is about this, ladies and gents, is this is someone who recently joined the team as well, actually. New for this season. They've joined in and just trolled Jess. I've never seen a walk-off set before, but that's what she's gone for. She's back. She's wiped the tears away. She's dealt with being trolled. Not only did she get trolled by Twitch chat, by Twitter, now apparently it's also by the production team. Fair play, Bertrand. We love you. Milos just said she's never walked off set before, and, well, now it's happened. The game will continue. There will be around 15. Your points are safe, I guess, for now. We'll find out as a second when we get back into it. This is unbelievable.
No. I can't believe, this is a professional production team, and look what they've done to me. They've made
this is karma, yes. Fluke has just pointed this out. Right, here's a great story for you guys from behind the scenes.
Okay,
we do content days on Tuesdays, right? And I finished recording. I had to run. I was like, guys, I've done my piece now. I need to disappear and go to the shops. I got in my car with my partner, was round my first roundabout out my house to go to the shopping centre, and Jess calls me on WhatsApp saying, Des, you need to come back because apparently he said something that's a bit too far, because of course it's something I'd do. Never. And was like, you need to come back and record. And I was like, oh, that's fine. I'll turn around. It's not a problem. I'll tell them we're back in a minute. And she was like, ha, gotcha. It's all a joke. And I was like, Jess, one, that was really, really weak. Two, you've just been counter-trolled by production in front of 48,000 people. Congratulations. You played yourself.
I really don't know what to say. This is honestly what is literally being said in chat by one of the directors and producers. My bad. I didn't really think you'd pick that up. Won't do that kind of joke again. My apologies if production says in chat VP's disqualified, and I take that as VP's disqualified. Next time,
Jess.
I will read a little deeper into the message and realize it's a joke.
Jess, you have to wait for the admins to speak, not production. They don't run this, remember? It's the admins with the final say.
Shut up. You thought it was true too. I saw your facial expression when you read it. I'm not doing this
obviously
anymore.
playing along.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. Nevertheless, it is not going to be a disqualification. The players will load back into the lobby, thank goodness. And as a result, we will have the last round play out. Unfortunately for VP, or maybe fortunately for VP, all of this essential timeout as a result of everyone needing to load back in and them picking the wrong operators, essentially, will give them a bit of time to talk amongst each other. That also is the same for VP, or rather Team Vitality. They'll get a bit of time to cool, calm collectedness and work out what strategy they're going to employ, because they know, one, it's going to be top floor. They should also know the operators because they know the operators were picked wrong to begin with. So we will see. We're waiting for updates from our beautiful observer medics and the admins, who I should have listened to begin with.
I'm just watching it happen because, of course, chat's got like 3-minute delay on it, right? The stream, of course, so no one can stream snipe. I'm just watching it happen where you've announced what's gone on. And seeing your face drop, seeing chat have this reaction, knowing it's fully a bait. Kamikaze Corgi, you are a god. He called it bait. He knew it was bait. He knew it without even reading the message. He just knew. What a genius.
Look, I'm done with it. At this point, I'm very well done with it. I want to break down how the last round is going to go. Not purely out of the fact that I'm going to be a broken record machine here and saying Vitality's attack, they've looked really good. The chat is absolutely exploding right now. But I do think Vitality's attacks have looked way better than VP.
You did the whole really cringy thing where you like touch your headset and be like, I'm getting a message from production. I'm hearing what they're saying to me now.
I asked production and I wanted to hear because I have them turned down.
Yeah, you're doing the whole thing where you look like a TV host, like, I'm just getting the final results in now. Jess, you are evicted. Something like that. It's that kind of like, it's painful.
You are the worst Big Brother, so I wouldn't surprise me if I was in the Big Brother house right now. You're evicted. I'd be like, thank God, I'm out of here.
Just saw you step off stream. Oh, this is like watching my life back in like, I don't know, the 3 minutes. I wish I could do this all the time. There's so many moments I'd love to watch back with like a 3-minute delay because this is just great.
Well, we will eventually get back into the game. We did get a true notice in my ear, not a cap, not a joke, not an April Fool's joke or a prank of any kind. We will be going back into the match very, very shortly. Instead of Des attempting to entertain you all, he's just going to sit there and entertain himself by watching the stream back 3 minutes in a delay. And I can hear the game in the background. Thank goodness.
Well, that was an enjoyable break, guys. We got to troll Jess a little bit. We got to wind her up. She kind of half trolled herself as well. Right. Round 15. Operators are okay as far as I'm aware. Nothing off here. No further rehost needed. We're into it. Round 15. It's basically a best of one at this point. There's been that much of a delay to see how things close out. But now, just that we can see what's going on, let's talk about it a little bit more.
Alrighty, well, there's no troll here right now. These are the operators I expected. There we go. WTG on the Smoke, Karjeka on the Jaeger, Rask will have that Warden to work with, Pasha will have the Valkyrie, and then we will have that Kaid to work with. Same lineup on the side of Vitality, obviously, otherwise we would be rehosting yet again. And this is the final round that we can go to. There won't be any more delays. We finally get to see who will be the victor here between Vitality and Virtus.pro. And considering their setup looks to be pretty usual, the only difference is that Electroclaw is inside a bathroom rather than underneath, and it will take another grenade from Vitality to deal with it.
Beautiful. Okie dokie. We are truly underway now, guys. Promise nothing else is going to come through. There's no calls that have come out, so I think things are indeed going to continue as planned here. Let's see how things shape up. For Virtus.pro, at least on the defensive side, you're looking towards, again, those C4s that we've seen come singing out. We saw the really aggressive one just a few rounds ago, if you recall, the one that came out through Skylight, I believe. Didn't quite connect into anyone. It was a good attempt. So sneaky bullet holes. I always love the foreshadowing that we sometimes get from medics as well. You never know when they're going to come into effect later in the round, as soon as, like, for example, that storage wall starts getting opened up.
Well, all things are a little bit quiet. It's like the quiet before the storm. This is the very last round. Does Vitality kick it into gear here, or do they keep things cool, calm, collected, nice and slow? I think for a team like Vitality that has some really good support staff behind them, I think they'll just keep everything as per usual. No need to overextend yourself. Take the control on the map that you need. And considering there's no pixel shield, they get Piano for free. And I say that, Bibu will get the head of Milan for free. That's a long range shot if I've ever seen one. Right through the hole the VP opened up themselves. I think that missed the Electroclaw, and there's an ADS there to stop that exact thing happening. So if they throw another one in there, it might not collect, although it may have. It did. It exploded outside the door.
All right, so now they're going to have to start burning these smokes, at least relatively early on, just to pull back into sight, which they have done. But there's still plenty of time to have clear, have control with 90 seconds still to play. This is where you're going to start feeling the pressure a little bit as Virtus.pro. I imagine in the 5 versus 4 team Vitality starting to square up for this execute. You can feel the tension, no doubt, starting to build more on the defensive side here. Although at least I think for Vitality, it's more about getting themselves squared up and ready to go for the execute, because right now they've got the piano control, they've got the cigar control, they've got someone playing on Skylight. I can't foresee this being a drop-in. Like, no, they're inside the building. Cool. I was going to say, surely we're not seeing something as Hail Mary as going for a drop-in through Skylight.
Well, they don't want to risk them being thought out before they can even do it. Last time they tried to smoke those double doors and drop down. They're not going to repeat that one this time. Last time this drone comes zooming down White Corridor, P4 crouch walked down and got 2 for the play. So they don't want to repeat that again. And where Bibu is right now, that's where for sure the plant will seemingly go down. WTG only has 1 more smoke babe to work with. Manages to collect Bibu. Didn't realize he was that low that he eats the smoke, it goes down. And a grenade will get the white stairs. Oh no! It's coming to fruition now, Des. Surely this is going to be a Vitality win. 1v3, too much to do, surely.
Just a little bit too much, I think. Plant going down from Cactus, but it is Pasha. We've seen him pull off wonders before, but he can't pull off the 8th wonder of the world is the one to go to. It's Shinka. After a couple of big rounds early on, gets the closing kill. Vitality and my 80,000 points are going to walk away the winners here today. But my God, was it one hell of a hard effort.
Well, Vitality had to wait an extra long amount of time to be able to get that one in their hands. It's only 2 points, but that is much more than they need to be able to propel themselves up the standings. And unfortunately for VP, even though they got themselves into overtime, the curse continues, the VP curse, I'm going to call it from now on, where you just can't win out in the final dying rounds. And although it took us a long time, a debate and a prank to get here, well, now you know exactly who your victors are between Vitality and VP.
G2 popped up saying, why is the gameplay on my podcast? That's kind of what it became towards the end, but it did reach the epic conclusion we were looking for. Round 15, all the way through to the bitter end. Vitality snatch it away again. And again, my heart breaks with the VP guys. The number of times they have been in this position I'd say Na'Vi snatched the game away from them on console, but here today, Vitality are going from strength to strength. What you keep on saying about them, Jess, is coming true. They are shaping up to be one hell of a team. Let's go to the desk, though, and get their thoughts on how this match played out.
Thanks so much, guys. We're back on the analyst desk. Ace and